New polling from Ipsos has some perhaps not so shocking findings about the dream of home ownership in Canada. 73% of respondents think owning a home in Canada is now reserved only for the rich. Sean Simpson from Ipsos Market Research joins us now with more insight into these findings. Thanks so much, Sean, for joining us. And, that's kind of sad, but as I said, not really so surprising. Do these numbers confirm that middle-class Canadian dream, if you will, of owning a home has permanently changed?
Yeah, it may not be surprising, but it's certainly disappointing to learn that the dream of home ownership is quickly turning into a nightmare for an entire generation of renters. Two-thirds of Canadians who are currently renting, who don't own a home, are saying that they're giving up on the dream of home ownership. That's up a couple of points from just earlier in the year. So things are getting worse sort of as the months go on. And then that acknowledgement among most Canadians that owning a home is only for the rich is also up from earlier in the year. And you don't get that level of consensus in Canada without, renters and owners, older people, younger people, all agreeing that there is a housing crisis in this country.
So, and then you put that, I guess, kind of the impossibility of that 73% thinking that homeownership is impossible up against an even higher number of 78% who still think it's a good investment, homeownership, and they would buy one if they could. So is the gap between the reality of renting and owning building some resentment, do you think?
Oh, I think so. Anytime you've got something holding someone back from achieving their dream, they're going to feel resentment about that. And I think that's one of the reasons why we see the Trudeau government struggling so much in the polls. They're well behind the Conservatives because one of the key issues of the day, housing affordability, the people just don't see any progress being made. Houses aren't getting any cheaper. We're not building them fast enough. And so Canadians are taking that frustration out on their leaders.
And your poll also tried to look at some possible solutions to the housing crisis. Can you tell us what some of those possibilities might include?
Well, given the level of frustration, Canadians are starting to think outside of the box in terms of potential solutions. So yes, they support more traditional things like just building more homes, building more dense homes, even in their own community. So that sense of NIMBYism is starting to go away. But they also support some more controversial measures, such as limiting the amount of foreign students that come into this country to study at our colleges and universities. But of course, if we did that, who would fill those budget gaps at colleges and universities? And perhaps the most controversial of all is reducing our immigration targets until we get that housing back into equilibrium. That has consequences too, because without immigrants coming into Canada, we simply do not have enough babies, and so we will shrink.
That's right. So clearly this polling reveals a sense of frustration, a sense of despair, a sense of helplessness among Canadians, and also that the federal and provincial governments maybe aren't doing enough to solve this crisis. Do you think government is getting the message? And if not, what will it take?
Well, I sure hope so. Only 20% believe that the federal government is doing enough. And clearly the opposition parties, Mr. Poilievre, Mr. Singh, have been latching onto this, and it's hurting Trudeau as a result. The problem is that, what solutions are they bringing forward? Canadians actually have the least amount of confidence in the federal, provincial, and municipal governments collectively to solve the housing crisis. They actually have more confidence in NGOs, for example, to build affordable housing, and in the private sector simply to just build more homes. And so what they're saying to the federal government, all levels of government, is facilitate or vacate, help or get out of the way.
And there you have it. Thank you so much, Sean. That is Sean Simpson joining us from Ipsos today.